Hello, cats and kittens, or Jose Yoroshiku. Welcome back to the Crisis Corner. We're in the Manga Corner today. There's no One Piece chapter coming out this week. So we've devised the topic, Dave and I. Dave has to say, hey.
Hey,
Yeah. So we devised an interesting topic, which is based on the fact that we've finally gotten to see Roronoa Zoro flex. Okay, we finally got to see him engage. Is since entering the new world, since the time skip, we finally got to see him engaged in combat, which is taxing, as opposed to the puff piece beatings that he's dealt out since coming into the world. But the question is, upon entering the new world, what level was he at, or how would we power scale? Now, for reference, we would say Luffy being the protagonist. At every stage, he's been given an opponent by which we can power scale. Not counting people like Hody Jones, but let's say he's starting with Doflamingo. I think that's a good place to start. So at that point, we can say where he would rank where Luffy would pit against high level Chichibukai. Then we go up to Yonko commanders and so forth, to the point that right now we can say safely that Luffy is at least at the power we could scale him to at the very least a first Yonko commander.
very least, yeah.
At the very least, if not a low ranking Yonko. Or
Okay.
something in that area, you know what I'm saying?
However you scale it,
Yeah. So, he's going toe to toe, because when you look at the first commanders, how many of the first commanders that we've seen could basically fight evenly with their boss? You know what I mean? Could Katakuri fight evenly with Big Mom? You know what I mean? We don't know nothing about King at this point.
No, we don't.
Katakuri fight. Could he give Big Mom a good run? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just going back and looking at Zoro's entry into the new world, I mean, you don't have nothing to scale to really, you don't have anything to scale him with until now. But the question is, all right, let's look at the Onigashima fight. What evidence do you see by which we can scale it?
I'm gonna say for me, you kind of get him taking the joint attack from both Big Mom and Kaido. I think that's scalable. In addition, I'm also going to say that his ultimate attack that he hit Kaido with, I think that also makes it scalable too. It makes him scalable too. So I think that you get a couple feet on the rooftop of Onigashima that allows you to be able to scale where Zoro is.
And that's interesting, because his final attack on Kaido, I would almost say that's an outlier.
Okay.
Because it is growth out of desperation. Like they say, true hockey moves in the heat of battle. But he already had. Well, first of all, he took a couple of steps there when you think about it. First of all, activating the congruous hockey, and then second, because just activating it, we can see from Luffy, doesn't mean necessarily that you're able to use it at an advanced level. So he activated it and used it at an advanced level in one shot. That's like two steps. If he just had it, that'd be one thing. And it was recognized that he had it, but he had it and then use it at the level that Luffy had just learned to apply. Now, That being said, that I mean, it kind of queers things. If you take that off the table, he was able to cut Kaido with a base form armament attack previous to that, right? Then he drew blood, right?
Yes.
Or did he? I'm trying to remember. Come on, let me see something.
I believe he did, and I think also, he was warned. Kaido was warned by Big Mom to avoid Zoro's last attack. I guess you're
Right.
talking about the initial skirmish. Don't take this one.
Or the
Because
one that cut the horn off of the
yeah. I mean,
the
I'm going to say I slightly disagree in so much that I don't necessarily view that final attack as an outlier. In so much that I'm going to say I think for me one of the beautiful things that I really enjoy about Oda is essentially I would say he's a traditionalist. Like there are rules to the shonen game um, that you just run into. So you essentially hockey blooms or whatever you want to say. Power increases based on, and if you want to look at it like a wall or something, where your protagonist or your hero runs into a wall, and somehow or another he has to overcome that wall. He has to get over that obstacle. Going into the new world, we've not seen that for Zoro. Like he just hasn't hit a wall yet, and I think essentially this was that moment where he hit that wall, and I don't know that he's over it yet. I don't know that he's overcome it, but I think this is his limit right now. So when next he would scale that wall to go to the next level. So to my mind, this is just where he is.
Okay. All right. So that being said, see, that's the tricky thing with Zoro is, do we assume that since he hasn't been pushed up until this point, since stepping foot in the new world, since after the time skip, that's the level that he was at? Even though he wasn't, this is the level that he was at.
So this is,
I mean, so he was always at this level, and just didn't flex because he didn't have nothing to do.
So, like to me, this is where things get tricky. So it's going to depend on, in all honesty, how you see Enma and what it provides for Zoro. And that to me is what's going to distinguish if he was already at this level, or if somehow or another in Wano he had a bump going into this fight.
True. I mean, the Emma thing, Emma is his raid suit, I guess. That's supposed to be his level up.
I mean, do you view it that way? I mean,
what does, I mean, is it, was Emma a black blade? It's not, right? He would have to make it a black. So it's just a blade that contains another dude's, I saw say shotgun. A blade that contains another dude's hockey. Is that what it is?
I mean,
Kaido was talking about like he felt Odin's hockey in that blade, right?
I mean, he says that essentially he felt something. It's something that reminded him of Odin.
That's a level up. I don't really. That's not really my thing. To say that the blade itself is a level up for him. That's to say Shushui wasn't no good or what?
See, so that to me is where because I am of the opinion, and I don't want people to be like, well, Dave's a Sanji hater and so forth. So for me, the raid suit, and I know you and I have discussed this, is essentially a cheat. So I'm not a big fan of the raid suit because I feel like it hampers Sanji's growth as a character. It irks me something fierce, and I don't want to get too deep in that. But I also feel like the only thing, and I guess you say that scientifically the raid suit is geared for Ben Smoke DNA. I guess scientifically, whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, anybody could put on that raid suit and they benefit from it. So if you put the raid suit on Luffy, then Luffy automatically gets, a buff. Like he automatically is higher than what he was. It's a cheat.
Right.
It's not he didn't have to work towards it. He didn't have to strive to get it. It's just it was a gift given to him.
Right.
My argument is, you have, the great swords in One Piece.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I know, Shunsui and Enma sit on the same level. They're both great grade swords.
Mm-hmm.
And my argument in terms of if this is the raid suit is if you put that sword, if you put Enma in somebody else's hands, do they automatically go up to that next level? Do you think they'll cut Kaido? So if we gave Brook Enma, is Brook going to cut Kaido? If Usopp had Enma, is Usopp now, is he on the... If it does... But if I put that raid suit on Usopp, then I have no problem with Usopp. All right, so let's just take it down from Kaido because I don't want it to be standard. But let's say Usopp was running up against page 1. So we read in the chapters Usopp was running up against page 1. If we put that raid suit on Usopp, do we have a problem with Usopp going toe-to-toe with page 1?
Technically, it would enhance his chances of defeating page 1, yeah.
So if we gave Usopp, and I know Usopp's not a swordsman, but if we gave Usopp, Enma, is the expectation that he has, does he level up the same as if he got that raid suit?
Nah, because he don't have the skill.
So in my mind, like your man told us way back when, you can give him anything. He could have a... I don't know that,
He froze up there for a second.
Keep going. Man. Huh?
Oh, he froze up there for a second. No, go ahead. Keep going.
So I'm just saying, I don't know if you gave, Mihawk is able to do some devastating stuff with the butter knife, and I just
yeah. He took that little bit.
Yeah, man, it was a little dagger.
He stabbed my man so right. All right, so look at this. No, and I'm there with you because we do know that different swords have different characteristics.
That's true.
When Zoro first got Shisui, the problem child was which one? Which one did you say was a problem child? The one that got destroyed at Ana's Lava, or was it Shisui?
Every sword presents like its own type of problem. Like when he got Shisui,
I think he said something.
He tried to do his 108-pound cannon, and essentially it absorbed the other blades because of the rigidity of Shunsui. So like you remember when they were fighting Oars?
Yeah. And
it sucked up everything else.
Right. Okay, there you go.
I mean, it's going to depend on how you look at it though. You know what I'm saying? Like
So, and to me, the characteristic of Emna is that it sucks haki.
Yeah.
And to a great degree, to a greater degree than the user intended. You know what I'm saying? And he saw how his arm got emaciated when he first tried to use it because it just pulls on it.
Yeah.
And it strikes harder than the user intended, which would mean that in that case, the only thing he would have to do is learn how to regulate the haki that goes into it, which he was doing on the rooftop. He was figuring it out in real time in the fight. But I'm not willing to say that it leveled him up. I mean, that seems to be what's indicated, but that's his level up. I'm a little, with that, because, like I say, if first of all, if he couldn't use haki, what would happen? You know what I'm saying? If he couldn't use armament or whatever, then it wouldn't mean anything at that point. But I guess that wouldn't really come into play in terms of his development.
I mean, I think it helps, like you said, I think it helps with haki control. I think it helps the fighter develop. So, like, as far as I'm concerned, like, if you're at whatever level, you're still on that level. You just have better execution when it comes to your haki. So it increases efficiency as opposed to effectiveness.
So it's like a version of the weights on Rock Lee's legs, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Not apples for apples, but it's a training tool almost. You take the weights off, and then all of a sudden you're free to do whatever. So By the time you figure you're done keeping Emma from sucking all the life out of you, you can control hockey better.
I mean,
That don't necessarily make you a better swordsman.
I think it gives you pinpoint precision in terms of your hockey usage. I don't know that it increased your ability as a swordsman. Like I said, I think it makes you a more efficient fighter in terms of hockey consumption. So I think if an attack required, you know, a level 2 hockey, you know, as opposed to you dumping in a level 3 because you can't waste it. It's like you have to regulate yourself with Enma, and I think it teaches you better regulation. Is what I gathered from what it was doing.
It teaches him. It's teaching him better hockey control.
Yeah.
All right. So you take that off of the table. His skill is what it's been since he got into the new world.
That's how I feel about it.
But he can do it because he's using basically the same attacks.
Yeah.
You ever see him come up with any attacks different except for he's stronger than he was prior to the time skip. So that means that put it like this, could he have, if he had went toe to toe with Doflamingo, what would have been the result? Since he hasn't experienced any growth between the beginning of the time skip till now, he hasn't. The only growth he had basically is Emma. That means that he's been this strong all the time.
I don't want to tiptoe around this, Jose, so I'm just going to come outright and say yes. That's the impression that I have. I'm under the impression that if he fought Doflamingo, he would have defeated Doflamingo. I'm under the impression that, this is where he was.
So really, that's saying that he was coming into the new world, he was stronger than his captain.
Scandal. I'm going to say outright, coming into the new world, I'm going to say up until Wano, I would say I believe Zoro was the most powerful member of the Mugiwara. I'm going to outright say it. I'm going to say yes. I think Roronoa Zoro, the most powerful member of the squad.
Now, was that Oda's intent? Now, the thing that makes the kind of queerest things for me is that he purposefully kept him from fighting anybody of significance up until this point.
All right, so
because what you call him? What's his name? Doflamingo's side man. What's his name?
Pika.
Was that his second? Was that his? I don't even know where Pika fell in the list of his henchmen.
I mean, he never really says outright if Pika was like Pika seemed to me, and I'm going to be honest with you. So his henchmen were you had Treble, you had Diamante, you had Pika, and you had Virgo. And I'm going to say of the four, as far as I can tell, it looked to me that Pika was the most powerful combatant. I think they made it clear Virgo had exceptionally hard armament hockey, so his defensive capabilities they were pretty nasty. But it seemed to me that Pika's hockey was going to be pretty powerful, and his devil fruit it's not really a joke. The man was a mountain.
That's true.
So it's not hardcore. Like for me though, like I think Oda. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Eiichiro Oda is a beast. I think he's brilliant, and I think one of the things that has bugged me a lot is this ongoing Sanji versus Zoro debate. That just irritates me, and it irks me so much in the new world because we don't have time for petty nonsense. Like, and not to say whatever. Like, it's a small little bit where they're at Fishman Island and they're surrounded by 100,000 henchmen, and they were making I'll take this many, you take this. They're sniping at each other, and Luffy has to come in and he shoves these Bambas to the side, whatever, and he pops that Conqueror's Haki and he takes out about 50,000 cats, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, we in the new world, we don't have time for this petty nonsense. Mm-hmm. So I think Oda's a genius because I honestly believe he's playing the shell game. Like, quite frankly, he's trolling people with this Zoro versus Sanji stuff, Because if you aren't focused on this Zoro versus Sanji, because essentially, if we use Sanji as a stopgap, so at this point in time, you don't really hear a lot of Sanji versus Luffy type whatever. Who's more powerful, Sanji or Luffy? That's not really a debate.
Right.
So if I have the debate being Sanji versus Zoro, I'm not going to focus on the debate being Zoro versus Luffy. So my eyes over here, he's an illusionist. You know what I'm saying? He essentially caught you up in a sucker's game because your eyes were on this Zoro versus Sanji crap as opposed to Zoro versus Luffy. Mm-hmm. So nobody was saying, "Oh man, is Zoro stronger than Luffy?" Because if Zoro is in Sanji's league and Sanji isn't in Luffy's league, then Zoro can't be in Luffy's league. That's the brilliance. That's the brilliance of Eiichiro Oda. So I'm under the impression that he was playing games. And for me, I think Zoro is the perfect right hand. I'm just going to say that. So you're not going to get a Doflamingo versus Zoro because essentially my captain has to grow. I need him to be at a certain level. And Luffy has to level up. If he can't knock out 50,000 troops with his Conqueror's Haki, if he can't do this much, then he can't be my captain. Mm-hmm. If he can't beat Doflamingo, and we're talking about fighting Yonko, he can't be my captain. My captain has to be stronger. I can't step in for my captain. I need my captain to do his job. That's so part of the job as first mate is I got to lay back and let my captain do it because he got to level up. It is what it is.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
That's honestly how I viewed it from like whatever. It's not, Zoro could have stepped in.
See, as I backtrack from the Onigashima fight, I got a hard time believing that going back on the. I mean, if I say if Zoro had went up with head up with Katakuri, he would have the problem with the future sight. With the you know what I'm saying? That would present a problem for Zoro because dude can see where he's coming. He would basically could he blitz him with a strike or could he hit him from long range? Blah blah blah. And if you go backwards, there's not. I can't think of too many people that I would assume he couldn't have defeated. I would like to see him fight Cracker, to be honest with you, and see how that resolves.
I like Cracker.
I mean, because could he deal with his armor? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, yeah. So basically, yeah, I figured they were close. I figured Luffy and Zoro were relatively close.
I mean,
it's been like you say, it's been strategic. The fact that Zoro hasn't had an opponent to bring him out, so that you can really scale it. You know what I mean? He's had nothing, and then to show these feats right here. First of all, his durability apparently has doubled, if not whatever, since time skip. Because the attack that he took to me was worse than the damage that he took on himself in Thriller Bark.
I agree with that.
Because in one hit, you taking. I mean, they were fighting up until that point, but then you taking one hit, you're taking a double attack from 2 Yonko. You know what I'm saying? That, I'd say that's probably worse. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Worse. Well, let me think about that. He was laid out for a few days. Blah blah blah.
I don't know. Your man, Law said that man he suffered 20 to 30 broken bones. Like I mean, and he's still laid into Kaido with his ultimate.
Yeah, after having 20 or 30 broken bones. And then also when he deflected that attack, he was using armament and he didn't have it back in the day.
Yeah, man. So, I think I think that was one of the most devastating attacks I've seen in all of One Piece.
As an endurance feat, that ranks.
Yeah, man.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
So his endurance is obviously stronger than it had been. And clearly, due to his exposure to Emma, he can control. His hockey control It's master level, you know what I mean? Only thing he can't do right now is make a black blade, I guess.
And I'm sure that's around the corner because I feel like Black Blade is probably when you learn how to infuse objects with your conqueror's hockey. I'm under the impression that that's probably the trick, and he'll learn how to put the conqueror's hockey into his attacks for real.
So where do we put him scale wise? Because he hasn't beaten anybody yet. That's the problem. He hasn't defeated. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The problem is still there. He hasn't actually taken anybody down, but he does have feats.
I mean, so for me, and I know, be on the lookout, folks. We're doing a power scaling video at some point, but I'm going to tell you, I have a tier for first commanders, and I would place Zoro on that tier.
First commander level?
My first commander level. I got, Roronoa Zoro on my first commander level.
I would, let me see. Because then I had to ask myself, I had to backtrack and say, could he defeat? Again, we don't know anything about King and Queen. Could he defeat Cracker? Could he defeat? We don't know nothing about Smoothie either.
All right, so
all we got basically is Katakuri and who that we seen. First commander is we got Katakuri and who's
second? Assume King. Oh, Queen is second commander.
Yeah, I'm talking about back with Big Mom's people. I'm trying to go down her list of commanders.
Oh, it's first, second, and third. It's Katakuri, Smoothie, then Cracker.
Okay, we don't know nothing about Smoothie. So basically, we know about Katakuri.
So I mean, for me, the what I would say is this, and not to say because those cats are going to have their ultimate attacks too. Based on what we saw on the rooftop of Onigashima, you did see Roronoa Zoro. He essentially, I don't want to say tank because he took nasty damage from that attack from Big Mom and Kaido. Okay. But he suffered 20 to 30 broken bones, and then he unleashed his ultimate attack on Kaido, and it was strong enough where he essentially hit Kaido with what we know is going to be a permanent scar attack. Mm-hmm. The question in my mind becomes, and not to say anybody's going to be standing there waiting for this to happen. In your mind, does Cracker take that attack that Kaido took and keep moving? Who takes that attack and keeps it moving? Like, I mean, how many? Like, who takes that? Okay. And we're gonna go some more.
Okay, so we would say in terms of destructive power, he's on Odin's level, at least.
At least
he can deal out at least as much damage as Odin could.
And his ability, his endurance is still Zoro level endurance.
That's true, and if we go by now, does Kaido have observation to the level of? Well, even if he doesn't, we don't know. He's fast. We do know he's fast.
He's excessively fast. Yeah,
he can blitz a person with observation to the point where it's almost negates.
Yeah.
Now, did he intend to take that strike from Zoro, or was he just blitzed? Because he was doing that bottle juice or whatever. It was one strike, draw type deal. Now, was it a situation where he's still looking to die and he wanted to see what would happen if he got hit by that attack?
With Kaido, you never know. But
if he speed blitzed the dude of Kaido's speed, then that means that his speed is at least comparable to what? I guess maybe it's comparable to Luffy or Doflamingo or somebody like that.
Well, I mean, I think Luffy's pretty fast. And I would probably say he's probably quicker than but his attack speed is phenomenal.
Okay.
So from what I've seen, I mean, it's a pretty fast attack. So I mean,
I got him beating Cracker. I got him beating
Cracker too. He
might have put in some work, but I got him beating Cracker.
I got him coming out of that Cracker fight. Like, real talk. I mean, of all Luffy's opponents, the only one to my mind that I don't necessarily have Zoro coming out on top with is Katakuri, who is first commander level. So this is just me, based off what I've seen on the rooftop. I got Zoro, defeating everybody that Luffy's faced so far, save for category.
Okay, so that means yes. And if his first basic power up is awakening his conqueror's hockey, that basically means he could have dusted everybody up into this. Not dusted. I ain't gonna say like it'll be a walk in the park, but he compares favorable to any of Luffy's main opponents since coming into the New World, or since after the time skip.
I think so.
So, yeah, okay, I I can see I can see First Commander, and that's without a win. Without a win-win. Like he hasn't beaten anybody except for that octopus fella back in
I mean, he beat Pika.
which Pika and the octopus fella back in what you call.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. I mean, to with those as your only markers.
I mean, he
But
chomped Monet, but yeah, I'm with you.
and Monet, I mean, because when you get into people like Monet
Yeah.
and they're below, I mean, because Doflamingo rates to what second Yonko commander, third maybe.
I got Doflamingo be a second commander, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But yeah.
But basically, by saying that, his minions can't be any higher than that, so they're not people that he would be worried about.
Exactly. I mean, I think Doflamingo is a beast. Whatever.
Oh yeah.
And not to say whatever. If we ever have a conversation about power scaling, I'll tell everybody like Doflamingo is what I call my gatekeeper. He's the character by which I rate everybody. So.
Above or below.
Yeah, you either above those. That's what I started to do. Some, I do some, calculations. But you either above them or below them, and Doflamingo's a monster. So.
Okay, so what we're saying basically, as definitively as you can say, without him beating a first Yonko commander, he would appear to scale to that level. It's basically based off of. Damage, the amount of damage he can inflict. I would throw speed in there a little bit, depending on, like I say, depending on whether Kaido just wanted to get hit or not or whatever. He speed blitz somebody who's very fast. I gotta give you points for that. And endurance is, completely off the scale. You know what I'm saying?
Still off the scale.
Yeah, and defensive ability too, because he held back a shot from two Yonkos, a named attack from two Yonkos. Yeah, and held that down for about 5 seconds. Okay, so we're saying up until Luffy activated his Conqueror's Haki and learned to use it in a fight, he was stronger than him, basically.
I mean,
on par with.
Yeah, I'll say up until this arc,
because that was his level up. That was his,
Well, he got advanced armament hockey. This act 2. I mean, in Wano too. So I would say up until Wano, I honestly believe Zoro was the most powerful member of the squad. I think Wano, we see an evolution in Luffy that's incredible. Luffy. We can't, that's a conversation, and I honestly, and I don't want it to be a thing because I honestly never felt like it really truly mattered coming out of the time skip who was the most powerful because it's Luffy's story.
Right.
At the end of the day, he is going to be the most powerful character. So we got to grow with him. So I mean, it is what it is.
And I'd be curious if anybody wants to put in a comment as to their thoughts on the matter because. In my mind, it's a valid question to ask. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the first time we get to see the man flex. You know what I'm saying? This is. I mean, up on the roof, there's nowhere to hide. You know what I'm saying? It's do or die. You're going up against two Yongos. This is like that last attack, that was the best he could do at that time. Had he been fresh as a daisy, I don't know, could he have done better? But he probably wouldn't have been able to release that Conqueror's Hockey because he wasn't at that wall, like you're talking about. He had to hit that wall for that Conqueror's Hockey to come out. So that was the most potent attack that he could put out, and it did damage equal to Odin. And Odin, I would say, was, what is he scared to? First, probably, right?
First I think so. First commander.
Yeah, because I can't say what he was when he was rolling with Whitebeard, but I would say he scales the first commander at least. That's a guess, but I would say yes. All right, so all right. But like I said, I like to see it. I mean, is the matter closed? Not until he gets his actual victory, but in terms of because he's gonna have to beat somebody at some point during this arc. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll know for sure, definitely, if he takes out King, we'll know, boom, he's as strong as Kaido's first command. Definitive.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, because I think at that point we get into another conversation, because I'll say, does he need to fight King? Like, his accomplishments on the rooftop are very much sufficient for me in terms of...
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I mean, in terms of just... Because I honestly... I don't want this to be, a Sanji video or whatever, but essentially, man, Sanji needs some feet. Like, it is what it is. Sure. Sanji needs something. And I can tell you at this point in time, based on what happened on the rooftop, I am okay if Sanji ends up in a 1v1 with King. I can tell you that off the break. So I don't mind if Zoro gets Queen based off the rooftop plus Queen. I still have Zoro coming out ahead. Mm-hmm. But Sanji needs something, so it just depends, man. Sanji.
But we know that Zoro's not finished fighting.
No, I suspect that with you as well. Yeah,
he's gonna get somebody. I'm still not convinced he might not be the dude to get Kaido's head. But
I'm not convinced either. But
I'm just thinking that Punk has him when he took out that dragon's head, kind of precursor.
Yeah,
but that's far fetched. That's far fetched. Him actually murdering Kaido, that'd be awesome. But that's a different issue for another day. All right. So, like I say, any comments, any thoughts? Put them in the comment section. We're gonna do as Dave said, we're gonna revise our power scaling of our top 20 One Piece characters because a lot's happened since then. We've seen people that we hadn't seen before. I don't even think, was Katakuri out at that time? I think he was. He was, but we actually got to see Big Mom and Kaido in action, whereas last time it was more or less speculation.
Yeah.
And there's been some other characters. Odin, at least as an honorable mention, although he's dead. You know what I'm saying? There's people that have popped up. That's all I'm saying. There's people that have popped up, and there's people that we've seen what they can actually do. So we're going to redo our list of most powerful characters in One Piece. That'll be at least maybe in a week. Saying in a week, look out for that, and then we'll have the chapters coming back next week. So there'll be more content. And as mentioned before, Armageddon is out on Kickstarter, and you may not be able to get this specific T-shirt, but check out our Kickstarter page for C3 Comics, and we're halfway to our goal right now. So if you want to help us finish it up, go ahead. Let me get you some good reading and get you some swag. So that's it from the Crisis Corner, from the Manga Corner. Look out for more content later. And remember, Zoro is the first commander level. He scales to a first commander level. Stay loose.